Well, hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of Triple Play. Remember to,
Like and subscribe.
that's right, we need you guys to subscribe. Keep getting the word out. We appreciate that. And we have sign balls coming. We have a lot of good guests coming up. Just a little preview we're going to be having over the next several weeks. We still have Ray coming on that we've talked about. We're going to have Andy, Scott's dad, on here. We're going to do a little Cardinal preview and talk a little bit with him. We're going to have a mother whose son was shot about 4 or 5 months ago here in St. Louis when a mass shooter walked into the school, and so we're going to hear her story and also hear about that incident and the impact of that. We've got top people in the fishing industry, hunting industry that are going to be coming on here as their careers and their seasons allow. So keep watching. I know we got some other baseball players that you're lining up. Trace, you mentioned.
We'll get some people that are down at the WBC.
Yeah.
See what they're up to. See how that's going. Yeah.
We got a lot of different people that are the next few months are going to be really fun on Triple Play. So definitely, this kind of format is really almost going to disappear for a while because we got so many guests kind of coming on. So just be aware of that. But all that said, we appreciate that, and we appreciate those who've been helping us get here. One of those is Andy McCollum with Resource One. He's done some episodes, been helping us out with previews of the NFL. And Resource One, we trust them, we like them, we use them. And you can get a hold of their team at 636-458-1798. Also, Chris over at CS Design. Those guys have done our intro, outro, our soon-to-be website, logos. They're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. A lot of that's going to be, you're going to continue to see some of that coming up towards the end of the month, beginning of next month with the website. We're going to start having some limited edition stuff signed by some of these players, hopefully shortly for you guys. So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff going on as we continue to build this. Mostly, we want to glorify God. And just a reminder, not only am I saying all these things on the show here, but if you click the link about us and read about the episode, we will have links there for both Resource One and CS Design. They're there on every full episode that we have out there. So all the full episodes, not the clips, but the full episodes do have those on there. And we will continue to help them out because they've helped us out a bunch. That being said, Mr. Scott, it is time to get into our lineup for the day. We got a fun one today. You know, Scott was down earlier this week, so if you're wondering why we only have one episode this week, that guy was laid up a little bit, but he's back. He's cranking. Like a good athlete, sometimes you just got to push through it a little bit, and so
Fluids.
fluids. That's right. Fluids. Yeah, that's where you missed the trainer giving you the feel-good juice, right? A little bit.
Yeah, it was really nice to call to be able to wake up and be I cannot move. Okay, Scott, you'll be okay. Come in, and then they have like IV bags and like little pillow. Yeah, it's nice when you're.
Yeah, they take care of you. Well, into a little bit of our discussion today. We'll see how we go.
We'll do a quick sports rundown.
Yeah, we can do that. So first of all, I got to ask you a question here. I'm going to put this up there. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see it. Is that Old Busch Stadium?
That's a ticket, and that has 3 autographs on it. Okay, I need to know. Do you? I know one of them is your dad's. I'm pretty sure the other one is Ricky Horton. Here, I'll even put it up on my phone here so I can show it to you real quick. Let me bring the picture up here.
I'll have to go in my signature archive.
Oh, where is it? There it is. All right. Here's the picture.
Oh, jeez.
Can you see it?
I can see it.
All right. One of my groups had it. So
Andy?
I know your dad, Andy. The other ones, I'm pretty sure Ricky Horton. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the top 2 are Andy and Ricky. It's the bottom one that seems to have everybody tricked. I think it's Greg Matthews, but I could be wrong. It is 87. Greg would have pitched that time. I've seen his autograph, but it's been about 20 years. So I haven't seen it recently. So I was thinking that might be Greg. Any thoughts?
That definitely looks like a G. And then
Have you seen Greg's?
no,
All
I
right.
don't think that that last name's not Matthews.
Okay. Well, let's ask your dad. Maybe your dad will know.
It looks like a Latin name. Do you have the 80? What is this? 87?
Yeah.
If we pulled up the 87
Cardinals.
roster,
Yeah. Why don't you take a look?
I would imagine I could pick out what it is.
Yeah.
87,
I just found it very. That was an interesting one.
1987, not 97.
Yeah.
Cardinals.
This is one of those Facebook fan sites. One of the guys posted it, said, "Can you help me figure out this is my dad's?" I found it and was trying to figure out who the autographs were. The first two were easy. Andy and Ricky. I've seen theirs. I got Ricky's. I got a ball signed by Ricky. Obviously, your dad. I've been around, seen his autograph a few times.
Um. I don't think that's Greg Matthews.
Okay.
Unless he signs his name like Gregory.
Okay.
Maybe. There's only one.
I saw Greg Matthews' signature years ago, and that's why I thought it kind of reminded me of his autograph, but that was the closest I could come. But
Yeah.
I don't have anything now to compare it to. I haven't, that was 20 years ago. I did some stuff for him back then, and I just don't. I don't have those records anymore, so I can't remember his exact signature. But I want to say that was his. That looks very similar to his. Well, let's ask your dad on next week. I'll ask him.
No, it's got to be Greg.
I'll do this. How about I
That's
send
the
you?
first one's a G.
Yeah. What if I send that picture to you and you ask your dad?
All right, I'll ask him.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Hey, why don't we just here? I'll just do this. I'll text my dad right now. See if we can get an on-air answer.
Reply. All right.
I don't know if he'll be able to see this. We'll see. We'll find out. 1980. You sure it's 1980?
Yeah, that's what the stub says. The stub says 1987. I would assume. Since it says 87
I
on
would
there.
imagine he doesn't know. Whose signature is this?
The mystery.
1987
I think 1987. That's what it says on there. If you look.
Cardinals.
Hold on, I'm going to slide over. Yeah, if you look at it, it says Cardinal Baseball 87 up here. You see it? There you go. The top of it says Cardinal Baseball 87. That's why I said 87. I guess it's possible it's not, but it looks like it's a schedule that some guy got signed. I would have guessed 87 because it says 87, like, hey, I'm getting, a couple guys from that year to sign that year's schedule. So your dad's was easy. Ricky's is easy. I'm guessing Greg, but again.
I think that might be right. I don't know. He just made his first name
Gregory.
longer.
Yeah. I think he had a weird signature because of that. I'm trying to remember why. I just remember in the early 2000s when I dealt with him, I thought it was a longer signature too. It threw me off the first few times. You know who else was a little weird when I did it too? I mean, just from a signature point of view,
Who?
was Trevor. So
Trevor.
yeah, Rosenthal.
Oh.
When he would sign his, really, it looked longer when he signed it sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that is a pretty long last name.
But I mean, the way he would just, even like the Trevor, just the way it would all flow, seemed kind of long at times. So. All right, we'll find out. We'll see if we can't figure this one out. All right, so let's move on to. Let me take that.
All-Star game, NBA All-Star game. Is that what we want to?
I do, but I got to get my thing here. Kind of, I don't know what happened. It's locked up. So let me see if I can get back here so we can take the ticket off because everybody right now is looking at a ticket.
I'll use my Jedi to unlock it. All right, there we go. Should be unlocked now.
All right, let's see here. All right. Did it unlock? All right. So let's move in. So
Matt McClung.
Well, we got to get to Damian Lillard first.
Oh, okay.
So, did you watch it?
No. I only watched the winning thing of each
Okay.
category.
I watched the 3-point contest a little bit. The reason why, I'll be honest with you, I was at the gym.
Okay.
I probably would not have caught it, but I watched that and I caught part. I actually didn't see the final dunk of McClung. I was driving home and came home and watched it later, and I was shocked. But I did catch those when I was at the gym. They were up on the TVs while I was working out, so I was glad that I was able. Would kind of stop when I was doing my workout and kind of look at the TV when they were doing their thing.
I didn't hear the story of how. Sorry, we're still on Damian Lillard.
Well, let's get into each one of them. So let's start here with Lillard. So he did win the 3-point contest and did a great job.
Yeah.
So
I really enjoy. If this is gonna sound strange, but if I could watch him for a day, it would be amazing. I think he's the absolute weirdest person on the planet.
There you go.
I would love to just watch how he does this all day. Anyways.
All right, so let me put up Matt McClung. I'm going to put up we're going to wait just a minute, about 2 minutes here, and I'm going to let the people watch the dunks here because this was pretty crazy. This is the best slam dunk contest that I've seen. I know what people had said earlier, but I have to say I don't remember this kind of hype since Jordan. So Jordan, maybe Muggs. I don't know. There was
the dunk contest.
Yeah,
I think that they had to play that up because the All-Star game was so terrible.
Well, I don't know, man. It was pretty cool. I'm gonna play him, and people can check him out and tell me what they think.
It was cool. It was cool. It was only cool because he was like this no-name guy, right?
Well, he wasn't necessarily no name. He's played for a while, so
yeah.
He was on a couple of pro teams. He was drafted. I mean,
I not no name. Okay, he is known by people.
He was on. You know what's interesting? He was on the Golden State Warriors, and Stephen Curry really did not like the fact that they let him go. He thought they made a big mistake. I was reading some articles a while back on that. All right, let me put this on, and then we'll talk more.
Congratulations. I'm worried about the guy holding the other guy. At some point, he gonna go down. Oh, that's a 50. That's a 50.
Well, I got to see it in slow motion. I'm not refereeing the basketball. If he hit the glass,
come on, Kenny, that's crazy.
He hit the glass.
But it was very clear that he did.
He got to hit not from my angle.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh, come on, Kenny.
Not from my angle. Get it, hit, tap and go.
I told you he's going to win this easy.
All I'm going to say is now there's a lot of teams that have been.
Everyone standing, including us.
Oh my God.
Hey, what's up, Kenny?
And a reverse. The star of stars tonight. This guy, the kick it, twisted, 360.
No. Let's hear it, Kenny. Let's hear it. Go ahead and hate.
Welcome to the NBA. No more bus rides to Albuquerque.
Check in powered by AT&T 5G. Here comes McClung.
Oh, yes, hezzy. That's a hezzy. That's called a hezzy dunk. Don't be worried, because watch, when he catches it, the pump, then freeze it again and pump it.
Yeah.
He's up. That's a double pump.
Look at the action.
Freeze it and get it back up.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's a 50. I tell you, the way he's won you over, Kenny, is admirable. Ooh, look at his head. Ooh, wow. Ooh, yes. Mama. Yes. He's got a prop here. High school jersey. Yeah. High school jersey.
This is the high school that he played for, that he broke the Iverson and the J.J. Redick records in the state of Virginia. Here he goes.
And he's putting on the handle.
It's over, ladies and gentlemen.
It is over, ladies and gentlemen. It is a wrap. Go, young fella, go. You have won me over, Matt.
I'm going to say this. Matt McClung.
720?
Matt McClung has saved the dunk contest.
Wait, let me see.
2 years straight.
That's a 720. That's almost
Oh,
a
my
720.
goodness.
Wow. That's a 360.
A G-Leaguer has saved. He has saved the dunk contest.
He almost did the 720, but he stopped at the reverse. Oh, that's a 50. Come on.
There you go. Go ahead. Look at this. Look at the turns now. 1, 2. Oh, Kenny.
man.
Kenny, it might have been.
Yeah,
It might have been. It's
360
over.
and a half.
It might have
It's
been.
over.
He said it. It's
Count.
over.
Look,
One.
Kevin, you're the only one that's good at math here.
There's one.
360 and a half is what?
540.
Yeah.
540. That's a
Wow.
540.
Look at this.
That's a 540.
That was
Look,
beautiful.
Look.
That's a 540, bro.
He
That's a
really
540
tricked
all
y'all, though,
day
because
know
he
what it
started
is?
off backwards. He started off backwards.
No, that's a 540.
So he really tricked. It's really
now you hating?
No, it's a great
Now
dunk.
you
No,
hating?
you the hater.
No,
You are the hater.
He's won me.
Done. Okay. Well, hey.
It's over.
So I was entertained, but you're saying you've seen this 100 times and it was boring to you.
Yeah, maybe that's just me. Does anybody else agree? Like, how many times do I have to see someone dunk before I'm not impressed anymore? Like, I've seen that before. I've seen it. Maybe not from Matt McClung, maybe not at that night, but I've seen someone dunk. I've seen somebody spin around and throw it in a hoop before. At what point does it become, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed anymore.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
I thought it was pretty fun, but I've actually watched him. He's been good at dunking for a while. He's one of the better dunkers around.
I'm not,
So.
and I told this is what it's not that it's not impressive. I'm just not impressed anymore.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not impressed anymore. You're
What was your-
really
you-
athletic. You're really tall. You've been doing it your whole life.
What was you gave me an example just a minute ago. You said that if a rifle shotter, what was it again?
Okay. Would you agree that someone shooting a sniper rifle and hitting the bullseye from 2 miles away, or whatever the greatest distance is that you can do it, is impressive?
Yeah.
Okay. If I showed you a video and I showed you the span of how far he was, and I showed you how he was doing the calculations, and you saw the numbers, and he pulled the trigger, and then the video framed to the bullseye, and it hit the bullseye, you'd be like, "Oh my goodness, that's incredible."
You're right.
How many times would I have to show you that same video for you to go, "Okay, Scott, I get it. He shot a bullet from 2 miles away and hit a bullseye. I get it. It was impressive. I'm not impressed anymore, Josh."
Yeah.
Stop showing me.
So when did you think the slam dunk contest became unimpressive after?
I think. Well, I think this about a lot of things, but at a certain point, something peaks out. There's no, you cannot.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to figure out where you think it happened. Was it late '90s, kind of after the
early '80s, late '90s? I think.
Yeah, because I mean, when Jordan did the most famous one, and then you had the him and Hakeem going back, and then you also had the one
Carter.
where
Vince Carter. Like
Muggsy Bogues. That was pretty impressive because he was so short, and he did some incredible dunks. So,
like I said, impressive. Not taking any away from Matt McClung. I'm not.
Yeah, it's what you're saying. It's really cool, but it's like I've seen that so many times. It's not really. It's nothing that
How
new.
many times would you go to the All-Star game and see that and still genuinely like jump up and be like, "Whoa, whoa!" Like how many times do you have to?
I don't know. Shaq was pretty impressed with that one. I don't know. Did you watch
he
the
gets
Shaq
paid. He gets paid to be impressed
with his AT&T
Yeah,
camera?
like if you go sit me at an All-Star game and pay me to sit and watch it, I'm gonna go, "Whoa, that was 583 feet."
Yeah.
You know, but I've seen a ball hit 500 times, 500 feet. Like,
Yeah.
if I was behind BP and I saw whoever judge hit a ball, I'd be like, "Whoa, nice."
Yeah.
But that's as
You're
far
impressed,
as
but not impressed. Yeah.
it's
Okay.
impressive. I'm just not impressed anymore.
All right. So let's get to our hometown, Jason Tatum. That guy.
JT.
Yeah. He had an impressive night, right? So broke the record, 55 points for the All-Star game. And on top of that, what was another thing that was kind of interesting about that All-Star game was that the two guys who chose, did you like how they chose the All-Star team? Did you watch that, how they do the schoolyard pick?
No, tell me about it.
So they have they take two of the best players now.
Yeah.
And they just take all the All-Stars and they each pick.
Okay.
So each one of them, like LeBron picks one, then Giannis picks one, then LeBron, and so they each get to pick one, like an old schoolyard style. So they're not like on one side or the other side of the league.
Right.
They just they can pick who they want, and
How does that play out? Because then you have, that's tough.
well, it makes the teams, like if you got one league that's really, really dominant because of maybe the salaries, whatever, it evens them out for the All-Star game. The All-Star game just doesn't mean much other than entertainment, but now it's kind of fun because you get to see different players, line up together that you may not see ever again. So that part I actually enjoyed. What I thought was funny is that both team captains hurt their hands. True story. True story. They both had hand injuries, and so each of them had to come out early in the game.
Well, they could have also just been like, "Hey, I'll play a few minutes for you guys, and then take me out."
no. So LeBron had an actual hand concussion.
Well, that's what they tell you. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. You could
Did
see
you
it on.
see it?
Yeah, you
It
could
looked
see
like
it.
it hurt?
Yeah. Well, you could see that he had a little gash on his hand. So when he was playing, I don't know. I mean, it looked like it probably would hurt, but I mean, I think he came out for precautionary reasons. He said he could have played if it had been a real game. Like a full game, he would have played. But
let me look up LeBron's injury.
and then Giannis, I think, was he actually could be out for a week or so. I think his was more of a reoccurrence. I think he had a sprained hand a little bit before the All-Star game, and he seemed to jam it again. So he doesn't want to play much. I don't even know if he scored a point. So, anyways.
He's so hurt.
All right. Well, while you do that, I'm going to keep moving on here because we got to keep pushing through.
They're not going to show it. All right.
We've had some good conversation here, but we got to talk about now our hometown Blues. One of the big trades of the offseason, O'Reilly, one of my favorite players on the team. He is now a Maple Leaf. Isn't that weird? Is that weird to me? He was the Blues. I mean, Tarasenko came up to the Blues, but O'Reilly, the captain.
O'Reilly.
When I think of O'Reilly, I think of like players before him that identify with the team. It's kind of like Mark McGuire had a good career with the A's, but everybody remembers him now as a Cardinal. Albert Pujols played for the Angels, but he's a Cardinal. O'Reilly, he's had other teams, but it just seems like it's weird that he's not a Blues,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's the sport, just like we talked about those other players. The great players move on sometimes, but
Would he be a Blue? That's a serious question.
well, what'll be interesting is he's a free agent at the end of the season.
No, I know, but is that the proper English? That's what I'm trying to get down to.
A Blues player, a Blue?
Is he a Blue? It's hard to not see him as
a Blue? Or as a Blues? We'll have to look that up. That's
as a
interesting.
Blues,
Yeah.
without adding an adjective at the end.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that being said,
Any other English majors out there, let us know.
there you go. But I am a huge fan of O'Reilly, and I wish him well. I did not expect that trade. They got a lot for it, and hopefully all these draft picks will pay off long term. I'm actually curious. Maybe they'll pick him up in the off season, be able to re-sign him with some of this. Yeah. Rent him out, get a bunch of players knowing that you're not in it, and then bring them back home. But we'll see. Time will tell. They may just go complete youth, and it may be a rough couple seasons for the Blues. We'll have to see. So, all right, moving on. Your man. I want you to call. We got to find out from Kershaw.
Okay.
I want to find out what was the story behind it. He kind of said it was some personal stuff that doesn't line up with the World Baseball Classic, but he steps out. Do you know what? Have you heard anything from there? I don't know. I know you talked to him.
I didn't reach out to him about that, but
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I don't. Is it in Arizona? Their first pool play is in Arizona, right? So it's not just travel. I don't know.
Yeah, he said some things just didn't line up, and so I don't know if it was conditioning, if it was family stuff, that he had some stuff going on. That he has kids in school, so maybe some of the travel wasn't going to line up with kids.
Yeah.
And,
Very easily could be something as simple as like maybe,
family matters. Yeah,
one of his daughter has a play at school. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and that's important.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta. Dad is first, and the World Baseball Classic is cool, but. Me and you have talked before, but if you did everything right baseball wise, and your kids grew up, I mean, we see this with movie stars, and they hate them or they don't follow their values.
Tough.
Yeah, well, not just tough, but what's the point?
Well, yeah, what's the point of having kids?
Well, what's the point of life? I mean, to me, that is the point. To have kids that hopefully for me have godly values and represent that. That's without that, then what's kind of the point of life other than loving God? So, yeah, I mean, it takes away a lot. So, anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be something to do with like maybe he worked hard this offseason and thought that his pitch count, his first couple starts should be X amount, and maybe the WB said with those new rules, you can only pitch 40 pitches, and so there might be just.
Yeah, find out if you get a chance, and you. I'm curious about that. All right, so let's move on. because of that, this is actually, I didn't mean to actually even pick on Kershaw because it actually became a good thing for Nick Martinez, a great player. He wanted to start. They had too many superstars, so he was going to have to be in the bullpen. That wasn't going to work with his schedule and the way he needs to prep for starting. And Kershaw is out, and so now he's back, and now he gets to start. So that's kind of a cool, like, hey, he wanted to represent. He had to back out because he couldn't start. Now he gets to start.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I mean, maybe Nick reached out to Clayton and said, "Hey, do you really want to go?" And maybe Clayton said, "I really don't really care either way.
Yeah,
hey, I've been really wanting to do this. Would you mind?" Like, I have no idea.
I'll
try to find out though.
Yeah, I'm just curious. The other thing. So let's move into number 2. Machado. Did you see this?
I saw this. Yeah.
What do you think of that? So they kind of give him this low ball offer, which is basically we'll pay you kind of what we're paying, but a little bit less for a few more years. I like the Padres. They seem like they're a team trying to win it, but I thought, man, this is your player. I mean, Machado right now is the center of that team. Mm-hmm. I know they got other good players, but
yeah, I think they're probably. I mean, I think that the Padres in a better position to negotiate after next year.
Yeah.
Than Manny is. So I think it favors San Diego to wait. I mean, maybe Manny has a bad season. Maybe
it's possible.
They can get him back cheaper. They can pick up that option. I guess the only real risk is that he has an unbelievable year and that price goes up. But maybe the Padres know they're okay paying whatever price, and they're just kind of waiting to see if they can get lucky and have to, not have to pay him as much.
Or maybe they with all these other stars, do they want to? Maybe that comes down to, do we keep him and Juan Soto? I mean, Juan's going to be a free agent 1 year afterwards, so they may say, hey, we like Machado, but honestly, this is a big salary.
Yeah.
We're going to go with the guy who's a little bit younger, still got pop. You're slightly older, so we're going to go with Juan. And
yeah, I think that's probably why they're waiting. I think if they can get as close to what the Padres want, they can spend that much more on trying to lock up Soto.
Yeah, I mean it's and if Juan doesn't have a good year, then they reinvest it and just go after Machado. I mean they don't have a ton to gain by signing him early.
Well, that's what I said. I think the Padres. I think they're in a good spot to do what they want next year.
Yeah, another thing that's interesting though is, and this was pointed out to me, it looks like at this point that Machado could be the first guy to sign $300 million contracts. So that's kind of unique. I mean, to sign one, play it out 5 years, and then turn around and sign another one, and so I mean it's
that'd be cool.
Yeah, certainly possible.
Good for you, Manny.
All right, so let me play this real quick, and then we're gonna dialogue. But this is Mets owner Cohen and his comments. Give me 1 second here, and we'll let them start watching it, and then you and I can discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was a little surprised that sort of the prices had gone up for players, more than I would have guessed, and so we. Listen, it's a fluid situation, and we had some ideas on what we wanted to do, and you always have contingency plans, right? Because you never know how it's all going to play out, right? So you need a plan A, plan B, plan C, but need a plan A, plan B, plan C, but I'm really pleased at how it turned out. I mean, we had a lot of free agents. And so we had a lot of free agents, and so we had a lot of people to replace, and it really turned out well. I'm really excited by this team. Walking around yesterday, I feel incredible vibe here. I think this is the best vibe I've felt since I've started here. I think this is the best vibe I've felt since I've started this, being an owner, and so I'm excited. This is a good-looking team. Just the players, how they, how they feel about each other. They're having fun already. They're veterans. They kind of know the gig, and I can't tell you what it is. But I walked out of here yesterday going, wow, I really like the way this place feels. Listen, they're people, right? And just like at point 72. I care about my people, and other people have said, you shouldn't get that close to the players, and I would do it differently, and I don't agree with that. I think it's important to have a personal touch. I think that matters. It shows you care, and my wife feels the same way, and so it's just the way we are, and I'm going to do it my way. So and it works for me, and it's worked in the past, and I'm going to keep doing it.
All right, so there's where Cohen's comments there. So, I thought they were very reasonable. A lot of people made some noise about it, but I found it very, I don't know about you, but I thought it was kind of reasonable to say, hey, all other managers are playing by they created these rules. I'm just signing players. Now I do want to have a more manageable payroll, but I'm also in this to win it for the city and the town. I'm going to do what it takes to bring us a winner and rebuild this the respect of the Mets in New York City. I thought that was all good. I would want my owner saying that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Baseball teams do all right. I mean, it's a pretty successful, viable business. So, it's a pretty fair market system. I mean,
yeah.
even so, it benefits the owners. So, I don't know what they're complaining about.
Well, I mean, they're complaining enough that they made a special committee to reassess some of this stuff. So,
Well, Steve Cohen would not buy the Mets if it wasn't beneficial to him.
right. Well, and he's investing in his product because he knows that the return investment down the road. I mean, the Yankees are obviously moneymakers.
Yeah.
He knows he can see across town what the money is, and he's going, hey, if I invest in this, and if I sign good players, and I bring a winning culture to this team, we've already got some X amount of fans, but we can drive that up in this city and make them, once again, a beloved franchise. The Mets probably haven't had that kind of respect since the 80s, early 90s when you had Darryl Strawberry and Gooden, Coleman, all those guys there, Hernandez. I mean, all the guys we saw pop up on sitcoms for a long time. So, it's.
Yeah, and I mean, people with that much money, I mean, they are smart people. They know what they're doing. They are very methodical. They think ahead. So the fact that this guy comes in and buys the Mets and starts spending all this money, and then all of a sudden these other billionaires start saying, we need more reasonable. I would imagine that this conversation was had before they're looking for a way to spend less money on players.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it wasn't just Steve Cohen. I mean, we could talk about the Rangers, too.
Yeah,
the Rangers, there was a few teams this offseason that went all in and spent a little bit more than others. So, Cohen just happens to be at the top, but that doesn't mean second place or third place are far behind, right?
Right.
I mean, you can look at the Yankees. They kept a player, but they just made him one of the highest paid players in baseball, right? I mean, in AVV. So, all right, moving on. Ohtani, any thoughts on him? I mean, it looks like his agent says he's earned the right to test free agency and thinks that he'll be the first $500 million player. What do you think? 10 years, $500 million. You get the guy who can pitch. You get the guy who can hit his DH, play a little outfield for you.
If I were a team, I would sign him for a lifetime contract for X amount of dollars. You play till we say you can play anymore, or you want to quit playing, we'll stop paying. And then after, you can please come work for us. Please still let us use your imaging. Please I think he's in a position to do more than what people think he is. $500 million. I don't think that's. I think he could be. I mean, he can do everything.
Yeah, he's an amazing athlete, no doubt about it. Has earned. I mean, he's earned everything so far. He's been all that everybody thought he would be and so much more. Mm-hmm. So the catch will be, can he keep his arm healthy, keep himself healthy? He has had some injuries over the last few years, but I mean, even with those, he's done really well when he plays. So, and he's not, it doesn't seem like a guy who, when he gets hurt, tries to stay down. It seems like he's.
I think that's probably is going to drive up some of his values. I think that the Asian community has a reputation in athletics, especially baseball, that they take care of their instrument, their body.
Yeah.
Very well. And I think people, it plays out.
All right. So moving on, some guy I brought up, and he now has a contract with San Diego, nonetheless, Cole Hamels. And they just signed Waka, we already talked about. So 2 pitching signings. I thought it was a great move. 1 year, minor league with an option for major. One of their pitchers doesn't work out. He's a great guy to plug in. Let's see what he has. I mean, we kind of talked about this. Give the guy an invite to spring training. See what the guy has left in his tank because he's been out a few years. You know, he was pitching all right when he left. He just had that one wonky couple of starts for I think the Braves or I think it was the Braves, and then he thought he was going to come back into Dodgers and never even pitch for the Dodgers. So, if I remember right, so you know if he's past all that, he was still an effective pitcher the year before. Give the guy a shot, even at a little bit older age. I mean, the Cardinals spent $21 million, I think it was, or $18 million on Wainwright. I mean, I know there's some nostalgia there, but I mean, Cole Hamels, productive Cole Hamels could be a good pitcher to eat some innings and provide. You know, in worst case scenarios, maybe he doesn't start and he moves into the bullpen and becomes a great closer. I mean, becomes somebody like a John Schmaltz or somebody like that. You know, there's been some starters that moved in their older age to closers and become great closers. So
Yeah.
I could see him being a plus. I don't see any downside to that contract whatsoever. It's a minor league contract with some incentives. So yep. Now the next one, and kind of flying through some of these baseball ones because we got a few. Corbin Burns. That one was an interesting one to me because he's kind of the franchise face. And what I really found interesting was that he said there in his arbitration case, I guess two things. First of all, they weren't far apart in money. He was wanting $10.7 million. They offered 10. They want so basically for $750,000, a team like the Brewers. This is the guy who's the franchise face. For $750,000, you're now making mad the franchise face. He's been your best pitcher. He's been very dedicated to you. You just made one of your greatest fans, a guy who's now willing to walk out, you know, as soon as his contract up. I didn't understand that was not a win. Number two, they blamed last year, you know, falling apart on him because he pitched a little bit less. Didn't say anything about their fact that they traded their best reliever in Josh Hader. I just found that, I mean, and he said in his own video that he found that a little bit insulting. So I just, you know, Corbin has been a great pitcher for them for several years. It's not like last year he didn't pitch good. 1 month doesn't make a pitcher. Every pitcher has a bad month. And that guy has been consistent the last 3 or 4 years as their stud. This was a very baffling.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. People are so sensitive. Like Corbin is. They came at 10.1 and Corbin Burns said 10.75.
And his 10.75 was based on, like, he went and showed them all the statistics.
Yeah.
He goes,
I know how the process works, but I also know that you can like meet in the middle. So it sounds to me a little bit like Corbin's like, no, 10.75.
I don't know. He said he avoided arbitration in prior years because he was able to go with them. I mean, it's just let me again. I say this. I get that you're being a little.
You're biting the hand that feeds you. Like, just grit your teeth. Like, talk bad about him behind your back with your buddy that sits next to you in the locker. Like, don't spew this crap in front of your fan base and these people are gonna provide for you and your family.
Yeah.
To play a game, and you're saying I need $700,000 more dollars.
On the other hand, I mean, you got a team who has making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
We're talking about they're operating, and this is your franchise face and your pitcher.
Yes, but they assume every single risk. They have to provide a building. They have to provide insurance. They have to provide employees. They have to provide somebody to maintain those facilities. They have to provide the Brewers maintain all the risk.
Right.
So Corbin Burns, you know what you have to do? You got to show up. You got to work out your little butt. You got to run around. You got to throw a ball to home plate. That is all you have to do. And this team is providing you $10.1 million, and you're going to talk bad about them?
Yeah. Well, I think he was just kind of disappointed. He didn't really go bad mouthing.
Nobody that has ever gone into arbitration walks around going, la, 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 the team
unless they won.
Me. Yeah, but even then, you're not thinking the team likes you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. Like, it's the same process. It's not like Corbin Burns was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I didn't know about this process. Every single player that's ever been in arbitration knows and understands the process. They have an agent. They have somebody that talks about it. They talk to the team. You understand. You have the union that talks to you about it. Like, I just don't understand. I don't see the benefit of.
Okay. No, yeah. You know what? I can say the benefit right now is that he's probably one step out of Milwaukee, and maybe that was his goal. Maybe that is the goal. Maybe he's like, they're not. They're trading away my players I like,
and
my
I
friends.
get it, and I get.
So.
I've been there. Like I get it. Like Corbin Burns, they treat you. They don't treat you good in the minor leagues. They do all this stuff, and then I understand why he would be upset. I understand it.
You're just saying be the bigger man and be happy to be
Saying,
playing a
let's just
game
move
and
on.
enjoy.
Just say it happened.
Yeah.
It's like they asked you, it happened. I didn't feel good about it. Like I understood. Like I understand. Can we move on?
Okay, so I'm gonna keep moving here because I know we got to keep cruising here a little bit. We got off target here shortly a while ago.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
Can
Jason
he move
Hayward.
on? Can he move on?
Well, that's true too. But how about Jason Hayward? I bring him up because the Dodger. They're saying that he went there this offseason, reinvented a whole swing. They said that they looked at a swing and they said it was terrible. And so they basically, the hitting coach out there worked all offseason reinventing his whole swing. They said he showed up to batting practice, and everybody's been really impressed. I know it's just batting practice, but I also know you're a Dodgers fan. You're from the Dodgers. What do you think? Think that he's going to reinvent himself this season? Is this the season that he finally?
Listen, Hayward. I applaud anybody that has success in big league sports. Anything. I like reinventing to what? Back to what?
Yeah.
What's he reinventing back to? Like what Hayward are we talking about? His rookie season?
No, they said it based his whole swing. Like he apparently.
I know, but like I'm saying, like.
What do you compare it? What do you think his stats are going to be?
The hype around Jason Hayward his entire career has befuddled me.
Yeah, he's had.
I don't understand it.
I,
He's like a below average player. I don't get it.
Here's the funny part. Now that you say all this, have we had this conversation that I feel the same way?
No.
Oh,
I mean, I understand. Listen,
like when people were upset that the Cardinals didn't keep Hayward, I told all my friends that was the biggest bullet that they've dodged.
Yeah.
I said that 190 or 200 million dollars will never. I said that guy had one good season his rookie year, and they're like, "Oh, he had a great year last year." I said he had an okay year. Look at that year and go around baseball and find somebody, but he can play Gold Glove outfield. I said, okay, I get that. He's a good outfielder, but here's the thing. At this time, he's 28, 29 years old, and this is a 10 or 8 year contract. You're not going to get a Gold Glove outfielder for past another couple more years. I said he's maybe got 2 or 3 years left of that. When they hit in their 30s, they're off. That doesn't mean they can't play it, but Gold Glove caliber, those younger players come in. They're faster. They're better.
Especially guys that were speed guys coming up.
Yeah, I just go, and then are you only going to pay a guy for that? Because here's the deal: we had that. We had a great Gold Glove outfielder that couldn't hit, and we traded him. So,
I don't know. Hayward is for me like he is. I can see why he he's been kind of tricking people. Not tricking people. Like he can play baseball. I'm not okay. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but. I think he's been a first round. He was a first round guy. He has an unbelievably athletic, talented, everything about his body, everything. Like those two things together. Like I think, like you mentioned, I just don't get it. Like if you like,
he's been overhyped his whole career.
Go back to his best year, original form. What are you getting with that? I don't.
His best year was his rookie year, 22, 23 homers, and I think it was like a 280 something average.
So like that, you're gonna get that?
No, not now.
I don't think so.
All I can think of is maybe he's going to be a good fourth outfielder for him with some defense and maybe a possible DH at times.
The only pitch he can hit is down and in.
Well, that's apparently why he reinvented his swing. So we'll see. I'm just curious to see.
You know what the pitch they saw hitting a home run in BP? Down and in.
Yeah. You know what I find interesting with him? If you had him or you had Andrew Pirate guy, went back to the Pirates this year. Andrew he was their all-star. McCutchen, thank you. I kept want to say my buddy Andy McCollum.
I know you.
McCutchen.
Trying to get that out of my
head. McCutchen. Andrew McCutchen or him because they're both I would have gone Andrew McCutcheon.
Yeah,
He's 2 times the player.
Yeah, 100% Andrew McCutcheon every day of the week. No, I wouldn't even.
Yeah.
I would be like, I wouldn't question that. Andrew McCutcheon.
Yep.
I hope he does well. Nothing against you, buddy. I hope you.
Oh yeah, I hope he had that reinvented swing, helps him out a little bit, and the shift maybe a little bit.
I hope you hit 350 with 40 home runs. I really do.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening.
I think he's going to be lucky to hit. I'm going to give you my prediction. 258 batting average
No.
and 6 homers, and he'll be gone. So they'll let him go by midseason.
Yeah, he's not going to hit 258.
We'll see.
We'll see. But the shift.
Shift it up.
The shift shall help. The shift shall provide.
All right, one last little thing on the sports thing. St. Louis, just a little over 24 hours, we have our first full-on fledged soccer game. So St. Louis Club will have their St. Louis City soccer team, nice stadium.
Do we have a chant? Does St. Louis have a city chant yet?
Not that I know of.
I'm going to start drafting that.
Think that'd be cool. The name's kind of interesting. It's like they're trying to do the European thing where you got Manchester City or, so they
St. Louis City.
St. Louis City. I get the idea. I thought it would have been kind of fun if they actually had something not St. Louis City, like we got the Battlehawks, the Cardinals, the Blues. I thought something that maybe from the region that would kind of line up. But I get it. They're trying to do the soccer thing from Europe. So, yeah, it's not bad. But
St. Louis FC.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
They'll be good. They'll be fun. I'm gonna take the boys there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, I have to say I like them. I'm excited. I'm not the biggest soccer fan. Did you ever go in like the Ambush or? Okay. Yeah. Ironically, when I was at the gym the other day, I'll just tell you a quick story, and I know we got to cut here in a minute. But I was in the gym in the sauna the other day. Look over this young man. We're talking. I'm telling him about our podcast, and then the funniest thing, he looks over at me. He goes, "Yeah, my dad and my grandpa both played soccer here." I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think it was his grandpa, maybe it was his dad. One of them holds the record for the Steamers."
St. Louis Steamers?
Yeah.
That was my old teacher.
I think his last name was Mesmer or something like that. I can't remember now. I thought he said it. Yeah. I thought it was interesting though. I'm always like sports catches, so that was kind of fun. So
that was really cool.
Well, hey, we're going to cut over to the faith and culture section. So we're going to get into that discussion here in just a second. You guys, that being said, but let's jump in a little bit. One of the things before we do the lineup, you were asking right before the show, and what was your question? You were asking about a publisher, and I do want to answer this for you. So this is fun because this is
Publishers.
Puffin Publishers. Yeah. Okay, so what are they doing?
They are rewriting the works of a dead author.
Yeah, they own the rights to the doll books. Some of my favorites, you got James and the Giant Peach, Matilda. Great books, great. Some of those are great movies, but some of the newer movies I don't like. So, like, I don't know if you've seen the newer Matilda, but I really did not get into that a whole lot.
I think I watched like 10 minutes with that. And then
I like the original one a ton, So, my thought, I mean, this just goes to show it's kind of like the NIV Bible. Okay, I know this a little. Maybe people know this or not, but in the early 2000s, the publisher got bought, and they decided to rework some of the wording in the NIV to where it was more gender neutral for God. So my answer to that is I have not bought an NIV book that is dated before 2000 or past 2007.
Why would somebody do that for just pure profit?
Because they're trying to push an agenda. They want to make God look like he's both feminine and male and female. And so they want to versus God for whatever reason, and we'll know on the other side. He has taken the masculine identity when placed in Scripture, but because people are people and sinfulness is sinfulness, they decided to rework it gender neutral. So I have not bought an NIV Bible, a newer one. I will still buy it. Like I bought one, but I always look to see when it was dated, when it was done. I'll buy them if they're before 2007. I think 2007 is when that happened. So, so to answer your question, I will continue to buy doll books. I just won't buy anything past 2021. Basically, I'll look for books that are older than 2021. You know, I just like they did with the Dr. Seuss books when they said some of these books are canceled. Huckleberry Finn. I mean, some of these books that have been classics forever. I want my kids to read them. I'm not for any censoring. The only thing I'm for, and I think there's just a big distinction here because people are here, well, they're wanting to ban books. As a parent advocate who has 6 kids, and we're in a large public school system here in the St. Louis area, I've been advocating for certain books to be removed. That is different than saying I think they need to rewrite them. Okay, I just think that there are certain topics, certain pictures, certain graphics that you need to be old enough to handle. The brain does not cognitively get fully developed until about 21 to 23. So putting ideologies or graphic pictures before their brain is developed does you nor any service to the parents, especially while they're underneath the parents' care. Their morals and values or their parents' morals and values until they're out of the home. So those need to be respected. So putting books that place sexuality, you know, and I'll give you a great example. There were several books that were in the thing that were promoting the gay lifestyle, okay? And I had several friends be like, I can't believe you're trying to ban those books. I said, those are being put in elementary and middle schools, okay? Let me ask you this, okay? If you're saying that book is okay, can I go buy the 94 Playboy with Barry Drew Moore, okay? Because it won a prize. It's got all the accolades of everything with her fully spread and put it in a middle school or elementary school. Of course not. They would have an absolute problem with full nudity in a magazine. And yet it is okay if it's graphically written, okay, and it's done as an illustration. That is not okay. Elementary kids read, they love to read comics, okay? So just because it's written or and put in a picture as a graphic novel does not make it okay, because there's porn and graphic novels out there too. I would say the same thing. Does that mean I can go buy porn graphic novels and put them in the school? Of course not.
Well, no,
So-
but why? But instead of using the word like you're trying to get certain books banned from school, why don't you just? Why isn't the conversation we're trying to
Remove and put them in age-appropriate categories.
rate books appropriate?
Well, I don't even think you need to
It's
rate
like a
them.
movie, like
Well,
you rated R movie, a rated PG-13 movie, a rated G movie. Like,
Yeah.
do ratings. Don't like ban.
But
don't
even
use the-
so,
I think
why
when
would you?
use the word ban? It triggers.
I don't think
either
we.
side use the word ban.
But that's the trigger word from the left. I don't think the right uses the word banned. I think that ban.
I just think it adds edges to a conversation that don't need to be there. When you say, "I want these books banned from school," I just say, "I want these books rated." Like,
Yeah.
I don't want access.
I think that the ban verbiage came from the left when they were asked to be removed. I think the language that parents, we've asked is that we've never said for them to be banned. We've asked them to be removed because they're not age appropriate, and that's the thing.
Okay, but but removing them from certain scenarios or removing them from the school, because there's still kids in school that would still be
No.
age appropriate.
No, it's not. None of these books are age appropriate for any kid, even
What
through
about an
high school.
18-year-old?
When you are okay. Let me ask you this.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm
gonna put this back in there.
Yeah.
So would you be okay with the public high school? Okay, let's take that book out of the way, with them putting porn graphic novels
in a school.
in the school.
Is 18 the legal age in which someone can purchase this?
I'm just asking you. I don't know.
I think the answer is yes, and you limit access to people that are of age.
Or do they have
Just
to?
like in the 1960s and 70s, they used to have tobacco vending machines at school because there was 18-year-olds at school that used to smoke.
Right. I kind of disagree because I don't think our public dollars should be spent on that. If they want to buy it themselves and do it at home, if they're 18, they can do it. I don't know if I agree with the public school sector being the ones that buy that and provide that.
You cannot separate someone's rights just because they're in school.
Well,
Because
I
you're
don't-
using the banner of school. If an 18-year-old, if smoking's 18, like, I don't think there should be a ban on campus. If you're 18, you should be able to smoke on campus.
Okay. I mean, that
That goes for things that are.
yeah, I disagree with that. I think that there's other ramifications from that. I would say, like, you're smoking on campus. I would say the problem is the secondary and third-hand smoke.
Designated areas.
Well,
Just like you're gonna have designated areas in a public in a shop for these magazines, and they put sheets over so people can't see them. And I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm not saying,
yeah.
but as I view people's rights, if you have a right, you shouldn't get your right taken away just because you walk into a building.
Yeah, I go back to the books. I don't know if I think that the public. I don't think that we should. Again, I don't think those books should be banned and never sold. Okay, I don't think any band should be banned. Any book should be banned. I do think in the public school system, what they buy and spend tax dollars on and provide shouldn't include anything with pornography. I just think that is. I think that that's a thing. But if they do, let's just go with your argument, because really the argument wasn't even high school. Okay, I don't think that any of these books were being argued.
I'm not making this argument for anybody under the age of.
Yeah.
But
the books that we were specifically talking about were provided in elementary and middle school.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, and that's where I think the problem is you had books that were graphically showing. One of them was talking about an older gentleman with a young boy. So you were talking about pedophilia, okay? Fifth grader, I think, was the book with an adult male doing inappropriate actions, and it was actually written. There wasn't a photo. It was a cartoon, but it was showing this,
right?
Okay, or and stuff like that. So I think that there has to be some guardrails for youth. There's a reason why we put guardrails in there for them, and so I think, again, I think the word banned is an inappropriate word. That's the trigger word from the left, and when I have these conversations, I'm like, nobody's asking them to be banned. Right. What we're asking is that they're removed, especially from those areas where it's completely age inappropriate.
Yeah.
When they're cognitively not at a place to make that decision. So also, there's also books out there that are about controversial incidents. Okay, is it okay? Let me ask you this. Maybe you can tell me your opinion. This was another book that's out there right now. There is a book out there, and not to be too controversial, but it's about the shooting that happened here up north in North County with the Brown incident that they kind of started back underneath the Obama administration. And, of course, the officer was cleared not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. 2 fed, 2 local prosecutors. Nobody has found any incident of this gentleman doing anything that day wrong, okay? Or he would have been charged. I mean, when you got Obama, they were looking, okay? And you got the prosecutor that they hired. Specifically, he ran on, I'm going to go back and try to get this guy. Nobody's found anything because all the forensics, all the evidence lead to the unfortunate incident of the young man passing away, okay, of the incident that happened. So that being said, there's a book out there that is for 4th and 5th graders where it spins that story and says the cop did it wrong, the kid was okay, and portrays it as, police officer bad, African-American boy good, the kind of the slogan you're hearing throughout this. Is that okay to give to a 4th or 5th grader, or is that confusing because it's misinterpreting facts? And that's the things that they're doing right now, I think, in our school system. So when you tell me that the doll thing, that just, to me, just adds to this confusion to young people. They're trying to intentionally go after the young people in our country. And I think we, as conservatives, and now here's my opinion about this, we need to step up and either write better stuff or buy that stuff. Why haven't we stepped up and bought Dr. Seuss? Why haven't we stepped up and bought Doll? That's why I think it's important to have places like the Daily Wire and what they're doing. You got Timcast IRL. There's a lot of organizations out there that are starting to grow and get momentum, and I think it's important. I don't watch Daily Wire like I used to, but I have a hard time ever not supporting it right now. Why? They're doing great news coverage. I do get value from when I do listen to podcasts of Ben or Matt Walsh or any of those guys, Andrew Clavin, Michael Knowles, or Jordan Peterson. I mean, there's a lot of good material. They got the movies they're doing. They're getting ready to launch a TV series. They're getting ready to do their children's, where they hired the VeggieTale creators, and they're going to be launching several new children's shows. I want to see more of that and more conservatives coming together to support that. It's one of the reasons why I get upset when I'm online. I saw this the other day. I saw the Quarterling, who's got a pretty good following on Twitter and a decent YouTube subscription service. And typically I kind of get along with, follow him because I enjoy him. But he was attacking Matt Walsh a little bit. And I thought to myself, this is Matt was calling out, because to give the background of the argument. The argument was there was a segment where he was talking about how we need to basically go hard after these people who are doing things completely wrong. Okay, in his case, I'm trying to remember the exact story, but it was a very black and white story. Nobody argued with the fact from the conservative side that he was right, but they didn't like the fact that he was kind of like, we need to go all out on this. But what he was saying is we can't be gentle on this. They're not gentle people. Okay, I mean, it doesn't mean that we need to be hateful and vengeful, but when you're in a war, you've got to clash swords somewhere. There's going to have to be some battling, and somebody's got to do it, and nobody else is doing it. And as he said, he goes, if there's a better way to do it, then you step up and do it. Otherwise, I think what I'm doing is getting results. I did What is a Woman? I've written books. I've had the children's book on the walrus. You tell me what you can do that isn't on that I'm not doing on the forefront. If you can do something better, please rise up and do it. I kind of feel that, I think conservatives need to be careful about attacking other conservative groups just because they have a different way of maybe handling it, unless it's completely out of the box biblical. But that isn't what was going on. You saw also the same thing with a while back with Steve Crowder in the Daily Wire when he had that little about. That kind of stuff really kind of I don't like. I just don't like, because I think that we need to rally together, not be trying to tear each other down right now. Right now, we've got a much bigger battle to go after than to worry about how somebody's doing contracts behind the scenes with their employees. They're all getting paid. I mean, I want to say Steve Crowder. Okay, I promise you, none of these big podcasters getting signed, even the latest one like Brett. You go ask her, she's getting paid more than she would have on her own and gotten more support from the Daily Wire. Some things aren't always, the value isn't always money. I think I get this because I'm a small business owner to some degree. There's also value in the support, having a place, having people to talk to. When you're on your own, it's kind of a lonely place sometimes running a business, because you don't always know who you can go to ask questions, because nobody's quite got the same business. And if you go to somebody who's your competitor, they're a little winky because they don't want to necessarily give you all the answers that have made them successful, because that's kind of their secret formula. So I kind of go like, it's good to have a support system. And if there's a cost to that, maybe that cost is not a big deal.
Right.
So, and these are contracts, and after they fulfill them, they can go do their own thing. I mean, but I think the battles out there, whether it be Steven Crowder, whether it be the Quarterling, who, recently went after Matt Walsh, also had a thing with Timcast IRL. I think all these guys have great content. They have great services that they provide, but we need to watch the infighting. Let's focus on the bigger battle, which is we've got a big agenda being pushed through our country, and it's causing divisions. And the best way we can win this war is by A, creating some alternatives so that we aren't pushed out of this space, right? B, let us educate people one person at a time. It's kind of like when we talk about coming to know Christ. It's really just comes down to simply sharing the gospel one person at a time. And not only that, but then disciple them. Because a lot of people who quote unquote claim they're saved, but don't get grounded in God's word, or you mentioned it a while back when we were on one of our episodes, are like the seeds, right? Some get squashed out, some get this, some get that. One of the ways to make sure that a seed grows is to make sure it's been gardened. One of the ways as believers we can garden it is by mentoring and discipling people. So I think that we need a greater emphasis, and it's not just a small group setting. I think we need to be pushing more and more in our churches to do one-on-one discipling or two-on-one discipling, and help especially young men and young women grow and make good decisions, because I think that's the only way we beat the culture. The other thing I would say is the church. This is one of my pet peeves of the church. Many pastors I will see will absolutely, I will give an example. I don't want to be too personal, but I got an email this week from some leadership, and it had the tagline, just make sure that these people are approved, and I get that. There was nothing wrong in what he said, okay, and it was right. Should have been kind of acknowledged anyways. I mean, I don't think anybody who's around youth and all should be not considering that, right? You want to make sure the character of the people around them, right? But this wasn't a small thing. But in my mind, the first thing I thought of is I wish you would take that same passion that you're worried about with maybe an incident that's never happened in this setting before, and show up at a school board meeting and bring that same fervor, right? Because I think in the church, there's this ideology that, well, we'll just homeschool or we'll just have our private schools. Well, what are we finding with private schools? 70 to 80%? Go ask John Rich, who had to show up at his private school down in Nashville. He had a fight to get the woke junk out of there. It's showing up there now, okay? Because those teachers that they're hiring are coming from state colleges who are being indoctrinated, and then they bring that stuff to the private schools.
Well, yeah, and also the church. The church's views today are not going in the right direction.
Right. They're being influenced by the culture versus influencing the culture. That goes back to we're at war, and we have got to change the culture. To change the culture means we got to go to the battlefront. We can't wait for it to come to us. We can't wait and say, okay, well, when it finally comes back to where they're going to take away homeschooling and change it, no, that's going to be too late.
Well, it's not even culture. I don't even think. I think culture is too broad of a statement to narrow. I think it's just truth and not truth.
Well, that is.
And that's a truth culture and a not truth culture, I guess. So I just like a Christian culture, and I just don't. That's hard for me to picture.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a Christian culture, and I think you're right, truth culture. But I think as a church, one of the things I've seen, this is broad church, not our church. I'm talking church in general across, Missouri, let's say, because that's where I'm from, right? And that's where I've got a lot of my friends. I went to school at Missouri Baptist. I've got a background in that, been around a lot of those. One of the things I notice is that many of them are always saying stuff, but when it comes to showing up at the school board meetings, very few are there. I mean, me and my wife.
Cricket noise.
What's that?
I said, cue the cricket noise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, me and my wife watch almost every school board meeting. My wife watches them, and she's part of some groups to help push conservative values. There are some pastors that show up, but it's few and far. I mean, when you look at the amount of churches in the area, there may be one or two that show up at a school board meeting and speak. And I'm thinking, we're talking about critical issues here that are detrimental to our society. And as you said, crickets. What more? I mean, this is local. Aren't you supposed to reach your people? Isn't this the local community? What better way to making an impact on a community than to show up at the school board meetings and start pushing righteousness? Even if your own kids aren't in there, you are paying taxes. I tell those people all the time, they're like, well, I don't got kids in a school district. I said, do you pay taxes? Well, yeah. Well, what do you think that is? That's your right to vote. That is your right to have a say, because that is your money.
Right.
Taxes are your money. So don't you want them spent properly? Just because you don't got kids in there doesn't mean you shouldn't have a say. So that's why you get a vote. That's why you get to have a say so on the school board.
Yeah, that's tricky because it's actually not your money anymore.
Well, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean.
Also, the school's like, it's our money now.
Well, but that can change. That can change. We can change those things. The way we change them, state legislators pushing back on some of the state stuff and the federal stuff.
School funds.
Yeah, withholding school funds. Yeah. I think we've got to realize the battle starts local, and if we can start taking them local, then we can start pushing the next level. I mean, you saw that with Florida. You look at a lot of what their success was, and it started local with school boards and working with police, and then it worked its way up, and now you've got a state that, for the most part, doesn't mean it doesn't have problems. It's a big state. It's got a lot of people. But for the most part, we all look at it right now as a shining example of, commerce, freedom, a lot of different things. And so, a lot of that started with people at the local level starting to get involved. I think that, from a church perspective, we need to encourage even if you don't talk about the national, I know a lot of churches are like, well, we can't talk about the president because they may take away our 501c and we wouldn't be a nonprofit anymore. We wouldn't get our tax deduction. Fair. Okay. I think it's wrong, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, okay, that we can throw that out the window for a minute. What about the local? You know those people. You know what's right for your community. Aren't you supposed to be the guard of your community?
Well, guard of a flock.
A guard of a flock, but I mean, a flock is
First
typically
and foremost.
right. But I mean, aren't you supposed to be helping be a guard for the community if you're a pastor for that community? I think that you should be guiding your flock and helping them make wise choices, and so bring in the local school
if you have
candidates.
A passion about that. I don't think it's mandated. I don't think it's.
I don't mandate it. I don't. I mean,
What my point is, I don't think it's like. I don't think it's biblical one way or another to like. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, you gotta really strive for a better community within your city and within your state and within your local authorities and make sure that taxes are down.
I think that
everybody's.
I think you can't get specific like that, but here's what I would say: every pastor is called to lead their flock and help them make wise decisions that are biblically based.
Right.
Okay, and it should start within the church itself, and
Right.
it should also be in the community. That should be the next step. And if if their church is in pretty good order, okay, not chaotic, but if they've got their house in order, then the overflow should start to be community. Now, does that mean that you're into every aspect of the community? No, but certainly I would think kids, youth, school board should be one of the very first places that every church should be looking at. So when I only see one or two church leaders showing up at a school board meeting over the last 2 or 3 years, okay, with all this chaos going on, all right, and a lot of them are the same ones, okay, and let's say in our community there might be 40 or 50 churches, at least, probably more than that, but at least 40 or 50 in the West County area, and I'm seeing 2 pastors, okay?
Yeah. I'm listen. I hear your thinking. I hear your line of thought.
Well, I think it's biblical, though. I think that, if they're concerned about their community and their mandate by God to shepherd their people, part of shepherding the people, we see this time and time again of being leadership in the church. What does Jesus say to Paul when he reinstates him after his 3 times? Okay. Do you love my people?
Yeah, but I listen.
Then guard them, right? Then protect them.
I hear you, but I think if you boil it, if you really, really, really boil it down, like really boil it down, I think then your tune should be. I would think that pastors would encourage moms and young mothers and dads who are able to homeschool because you're supposed to train your child up in the way that he should go. And that has nothing to do with your public school, your private school, or state schools. Or
at least bring those things back to the community and control. I
just think if you really boiled it down, I don't think that school boards and public, I think it kind of falls in the mix if the pastor chooses to make that part of his mission and a part of his
I think
called
that
to do. I just think if you really got down to it, I think the encouragement would be to, hey, train your kids up the way they should go when they're young in your own home, and don't let anybody else influence them. If you really,
well, I don't agree with that either because we see this community thing in the Bible and how it shouldn't just be mom helping to invest into the young women. I would say
because schools are a new thing.
Well. They're new. They're not new. They're newer.
They're pretty
the state
new.
The state taking them over has become new. School's been around for a long time. The church used to be the only place that you went and got school.
Did Paul go to school? Did Peter go to school?
Yes.
Did Jesus go to school? Or did he go to the temple and learn about God's word?
Well, that was the school. They learned in the temple yard, and there were teachers there who would teach, right?
Right.
Okay, and it was writing, it was arithmetic.
And if there was a teacher that was teaching them not true things, would they complain to the temple or would they take them out of the temple?
That's what I'm trying to say right now. So I think that when you talk about schools, the state took over the schools, okay, through the last 100 years,
Right.
okay, and then they took it from a local level to a federal level, in the last 40 years. Okay? So what I would say is we need to get rid of the federal influence. Number one, I do not think that we should have a Department of Education. I do not think it should be federalized. Okay? We should bring schools back down to the local level, make it state.
Has anything ever been defederalized?
Very,
Once the federal government gets a hold of it?
it's very hard. I will say that. In our country, it seems to be something very hard. There have been a few things, but very, very few. So, yep, you're absolutely right. So, but it can happen. Okay, I mean, it needs to happen. We need it, and that's not just the Department of Education. But let's keep going, and then we need to get local community involved in it. You have Christians and you have parents' involvement when that happens, right? And so they will be raising and training their kids. And you will see kind of the homeschool environment. I don't have a problem with homeschooling. I don't have a problem with public schooling. I just think that as a church, we can't wait till the battle becomes the homeschooling, because I'll tell you, there's already states like California where they're trying to make homeschoolers teach the same curriculum in public schools. They say, hey, they still got to have a basis of education, so that requires our gender ideology, that requires all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that battlefront, now you've already lost. If by the time you get to homeschool and now you've lost the public sector and the private sector, guess what? You're going to lose the homeschool. There won't be enough votes there in our country. So the battle has to be, we have to start pushing back, or it won't take 10, 20 years from now and there won't be any of those. You won't have private schools and homeschools. Or if you do, they will be teaching the same stuff at the public schools, because they'll force it down. And that's what I'm trying to say. I think the pastors need to jump in this fight and take back the public schools to some degree. Now, that does that mean they're going to be Christian schools? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they need to lead the charge, find godly people running with good values, encourage their people to vote that way, right? They can do that by inviting them into the church to speak, okay? They can do that by showing up at school board meetings and bringing to the attention what they're hearing. Hey, in my church, in our community, I'm hearing this, and as a pastor, this is concerning. And I need the board to step up.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Let me take our school board. Do you think that if 40 pastors showed up and said, we have seen some of these books that are being shown to elementary kids and middle schools, and we as a community, 40 pastors are showing up today to say that we are going to tell our people, okay, to not vote for any more taxes to this school district until they resolve to protect our young people.
Yeah.
Okay? That if you guys have a bond increase or anything, and in your next elections, we're going to ask them to vote against you unless you guys in the next month address this issue. Do you think that if 40 or 50 pastors showed up and said that, what do you think would happen with that board? My guess
What's
is,
the board? How many are on the board?
I think most school boards have anywhere from 7 to 10 members usually.
I would say if 4 out of the 7 were not on the same side as the pastors, they would not care how many pastors showed up. They wouldn't listen to them.
Yeah,
They would vote how they were going to vote, and they would move on, and they would go, well, if they vote me out, if we get voted out, I guess we're going to have to change our strategy.
Yeah, well, maybe that's it, but also maybe the other part is if there is no tax increases, who's got to deal with the budget? How you deal with the budget if you don't got tax increases?
You just get into deficits, and then eventually the taxpayers will pay for it later
Maybe.
down the road.
Maybe there's schools that have gone bankrupt.
Yeah.
Lost their accreditation. So and then the state walks in and gets rid of all the board. I'm just saying that if pastors showed up and showed a unified front, okay, they don't have to unify on their doctrine, all that kind of stuff, but unify on the kind of like I was talking about with the conservative movement, stop this inbreeding fighting. If they could unify against some of these bigger topics in the public school sector and push back, I think that we could see some real change happening, because I think if enough of them showed up together and said, we're encouraging our people not to vote for any tax increases. We're going to encourage them to vote against you guys as board members. We cannot allow this to continue, because these are inappropriate things in front of our youth. I will give you a smaller version of that. Okay, I know a small town here outside of St. Louis that about 20 years ago, the pastors got together because all these stores were putting in adult sections, and they were concerned about it because they were noticing their kids going behind a curtain and being able to check these out. So they wrote a unified letter in this small community. There was, I think, about 15 or 18 pastors. They all wrote a letter. And when I say small, we're still talking a good-sized town. I mean, if I told you town, you'd be like, wow, okay, it's a small city. But they all wrote a letter together and told all these video stores at the time. This is back when we had video stores, late 90s, early 2000s. And they said, if you guys don't remove the adult sections, we're going to tell all of our people to give up their membership to your video stores. Guess what? And I think there were 6 or 8 video stores that were doing this. All but one complied. And the one that didn't comply was out of business in 6 months. True story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean,
that's why I said I think that I'm not for banning everything. I'm not for, but I think we have to, as conservatives, take a stand somewhere and figure out where we're willing to find. I think that pastors have their first mandate is to shepherd their people and to teach the God's word and evangelize. That is their first mandate. But right after that, it's involvement in the community. And I think it starts as, I think one of the most simple steps is the school board. I think a lot of times they think that the youth pastor, because they hire youth pastors to deal with the youth, that's enough. And I would say, well, that's ministering to your youth, but that still doesn't take the community.
Yeah.
You should be in lockstep with your youth pastor, and you should be showing up at these school meetings. And I'm not saying showing up at the school board meetings every time they're open. Okay, that isn't what I'm saying either. I'm telling you, I've watched 3 years of our school boards, and I can tell you 2 or 3 pastors in a community of 40 or 50 church minimum, probably more than that have shown up to those school board meetings. So what I'm saying is that is not enough in the community. If that school board doesn't, if one pastor randomly shows up on occasion and talks about truth, as you just said, that doesn't influence them. But multiple start showing up, and then they tell them, I think the other part is not only bringing it to their attention, but saying, we are going to tell our people, and I think this is the right response, that we cannot allow any more tax increases and bond renewals without you guys taking care of it. And if you don't, guess what? You'll have to figure out how to deal with what you got right now. Eventually, that will stack up. That will stress them out, and something will break. Okay, either that book is going to be a hill they die on, or they're going to have to bend and realize the community has a different thing. And hopefully, the pastors have a tempo of their community, and if they're shepherding right and have the pulse of their community, then that shouldn't be an issue. Okay, if it is, that tells you then they've got a discipleship issue and they need to go in and indoctrinate, help their people get better doctrine, right? So, anyways, we can move on from that.
All from Puffin Publishers.
Well, I think it's a bigger issue. I think this is an issue that's been going on. It's been a culture war for a long time, but I think we've seen the
truth war.
Yeah, truth war.
Truth. What's true and what's not true.
And I think but you've seen that really come on strong in the past 3 to 5 years in the local public school sector. I think it was done in a college level, and we said, okay, well, those guys are old enough to make decisions. Though now we know an 18-year-old still isn't. You're fully not developed until 21 to 23 brain-wise. So it's still even a little bit of brainwashing before then. But what we said, okay, they're 18, they're out of the house, they're at a university, they've got to make their own decisions. I can tell you this, I've talked to my kids, and I've told them if they go to university that teaches that stuff, I will have to think long and hard whether I'm willing to write checks and help out. So I would prefer them to go to a school that we know has, I'm not saying they've got to be all clean, but that they're not pushing that through the whole school. There are schools where most of the school is now, universities where the whole university is now pushing that stuff, and it's come from the top down.
I just think and maybe it might not be the final word, but I want to raise my kids to be able to see that stuff and know and see it for what it is.
Absolutely.
Not even having my 15-year-old son, like if he went to public school, confidently be like, come home and be like, can you believe what they taught us today?
That's what my kids do right now. Yeah. My kids come home and they'll be like, Mom, Dad, they did this. This is so crazy, or my teacher, was trying to say Trump this and that, and we know that ain't true. And, the Russian collusion, that they'll bring up something that we definitely know isn't true. And we try to be fair, like when they ask me about Trump, I'd be like, look, Dad's opinion is he's a flawed man. Any man in a position of authority is going to be a flawed man. God would say the only king we should need is him. Israel asked for a king, and he gave him Saul, and he said, he will press his thumb on you. You'll be oppressed. Your daughters will be in his harem. Yeah. Your sons will fight his battles. Yeah. I said, so just because we get to elect him doesn't mean that it's much different. And so we need to be aware of that. Number two, he had a lot of good policies. Some of them by intent, and some of them he happened to be lucky about. But policies that were good, regardless. But that being said, he is not. Like I get people who are really pro-Trump, and that isn't me. I was happy with the way he did the presidency. I thought that the way economically and how he encouraged good spiritual involvement. Okay. Those were good things. He did some things that were bad, and I don't always like his language. I think he can be crass sometimes. I know that's part of his lure to certain people, but he can be crass where I wouldn't want my kids in the crowd listening to some of his language. So I get that. On the other hand, I look at the other side and I go, I mean, this guy, the other side, the person, you're always picking the least of two evils anytime you're doing an election usually. And I look at the other side and I go, oh my gosh, these guys, they would elect the devil tomorrow if he was a Democrat, Hopefully as Republicans, we can continue to clean up our party, and the inequality candidates that we bring up will be higher and higher qualities. I feel that. From young. But I teach my kids that, and I try to be
I think
even.
The hard thing for me to get over is the fact that, like, if you take those books out, you're not taking the kids out that agree with that. You're not taking the families out of the school that agree with that. There's still going to be voices. There's still going to be words spoken that reflect exactly the same things that would be sitting in a book on a shelf. So removing a book, you think, or we think, well, like our kids are going to be safer.
No,
I just think there's wherever you put your kids, there will be strange, weird, unnatural, evil. Like there's no escaping it at this point.
Well, I agree on that. I just think that we need, the younger they are, the more we need to try to be guardrails to them, and that's why I said I think that banning books is wrong.
100%. 100%. I'm not saying. I just think.
And I think that if we can do things that will help guard their young minds, because that way they, as you said, when they turn 15 or they do as 12, hopefully as they continue to develop and see good values and good things from home and from other areas, when they do encounter those later in life, they'll be able to identify good and evil. My problem is when you're still putting together good and evil in elementary school and middle school, and you're still trying to figure those things out, that we need to do our best to put guardrails and make sure that stuff's not in full view of them. That doesn't mean other parents, every parent's got the right at home.
Right.
If a parent wants to pull out a Playboy and teach their 12-year-old son, that is their prerogative in their house. It shouldn't be in a public school. And that goes back to my whole theory. They would not, even the left, if I were to bring in books that showed heterosexual graphic stuff, they'd be like, that's gross, no, that's inappropriate. But because it's pushing their ideology, that's where it's okay. And that's why I go, it's not okay, because you don't even see it, if you don't agree on the other side. I think that we need to remove all that until they're age appropriate, and whether that's 18, 17, 16, whatever that is. But we certainly can agree it's not a 3rd, 4th, 5th grader or 6th, 7th, and 8th grader. Those kids, that doesn't mean that there aren't things that maybe my 6th, 7th, and 8th grader, there aren't books that they can read that are a little more mature than a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grader. I get that, and I agree with that.
Why can't it just be parent permission? Like put all these books that everybody's trying to get out into a little box.
Well, they kind of do that. But the problem is
hey, we got these books. If you want to read them, we need your permission.
Yeah, I think the problem is they're supposed to have that, but you obviously got people that come and go, and they're not in a box up on a shelf. They're out on a shelf, and any kid can still accidentally grab them or read them while they're in the library when the people aren't looking.
Let's shore that up.
Yeah, put them behind a desk.
Make it a.
I just go back and say, why not just remove them from elementary and middle schools and only have them in high school? I don't think any of the arguments were high school books.
That just seems, it's like my way or the highway from both sides. Like, just if parents want to have books for these books,
But I don't think
there has to be parents that are okay with this.
Well-
Otherwise, this wouldn't be a debate.
No, I don't think it's okay. I think what it is that once they're there, they don't want them removed, right? Because it's the culture says they're there. What normally happens, I'll tell you what happens, is these publishers who are owned by these people donate. I've learned all about this. They donate these specific books to these schools for free.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they get in there, and then they're like, well, this one won an award for, a Pulitzer Award. I mean, all these crazy books are winning awards nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So, well, okay, but that means nothing. But then they go, well, we can't remove the Pulitzer books. And so, it goes back to, and then these parents find out that they're trying to be removed. They're like, no, we want them there. Well, their kids aren't reading them either, okay? The truth is they probably don't want their own kids reading them.
What? Maybe not, but like as a parent, hey, we're having this in a secure location. It's a key. You gotta bring in a permission slip from your parent if you want to check it out. Like, you think a parent's gonna be like, no, that's unacceptable. I need
maybe
access
that's
right
yeah.
away.
I think
Like,
that.
why can't there be something in the middle?
Well, I think what you're saying would be a good proposal, but I just go back and say, again, if that's the case, can we do it to the other side? Because it goes back to what I was saying is they just want their books and they don't want the other side of that. So, right, it's only if it's books that show male on male, male on female, and young sex, and then again, it's also got the graphic pictures.
Whatever they want. Whatever they want.
But does that mean that we can put in the other side?
Whatever they want.
Okay.
Who cares? As long as you have to come through me, that's fine.
You're the
I'll make
gatekeeper. As
the
long as there's a
decision.
gatekeeper?
Yes.
Okay.
I
They're
don't
locked
care.
up?
I don't care.
Well, that may be the solution. I hope our
I just think ripping something like it causes the other person to go, whoa, okay, you want to do it like that? And it's like, how much can we take away from the other? Just make it.
yeah. I just the problem I see with your thing is it always seems like the slide continues to go.
It's going to,
Yeah.
Josh. I got news for you. Satan does a number on this world before he gets to, before he's chained.
Yeah, that's true.
So I just think,
Yeah,
I don't know.
no, you do. You've had some great ideas. I think this is great that we're fleshing this out. This is the discussion that we need to start having, and we need to start pushing, and we need to start figuring out solutions to. Because if not, what we got right now is not going to work, and it is going to be pushing the stuff on our young people, and we're going to have third and fourth. I mean, it's what we're seeing. We got young people who are having a problem figuring out who they even are. Are they a woman? Are they a man?
Well, yeah.
What's appropriate, because we're pushing this on to second, third, and fourth graders, and we know that their brain is not anywhere near able to comprehend this stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you see they're having a drag show story time in Chesterfield today?
Really?
Or maybe, I don't know if it was today or it's soon.
I mean,
a couple other public libraries are doing that
yeah,
around town.
it doesn't shock me. They're all trying to join in on the craze because it's now become the new craze to push the right harder. I go back and say, if we start to continue to see this, we all have ways we can handle things. What we need to do is unite. One of those is maybe if the libraries are and I know there are people are like, well, it's a public library. Yeah, but your tax dollars still go to them. One way to not encourage it, don't give them a raise. Yeah, and then when they ask why the community, because they're still representing the community, when they go back to the community and say, why didn't you give us a raise? My answer would be, because you're allowing inappropriate stuff in these places.
Yeah, or just don't go to the library.
Well, I mean,
You cannot. I don't know.
I think that you're thinking the right way. No, what you're saying is go find other resources to bring those books to you, right? You can buy them online. There's online, alternatives now more and more, so you can e-read. I'm not disagreeing with that. And if that's the case, then why do you need a library to take your tax dollars away from it? You just proved my point of why would you give something a raise that you no longer support or use?
Well, I mean, okay, would you consider a church that is not preaching the correct gospel not a church?
Correct.
So should they be, in your mind, not tax exempt?
Well, that now you're getting on a
I know, I'm getting.
now you're getting down to the federal level. So to answer your question, I don't think any church should worry about tax exemption. Do I think a church should be tax exempt? I actually think churches should pay taxes. That takes that equation out, because the minute you have that over them, now the federal government has leverage over them. But I'm not even going to go another level above that. I don't think there should be a federal tax. I've said that for years. We should get rid of the Federal Reserve, and we should get rid of federal taxes. Everything should go to local. Local taxes should pay state taxes, and then your governor, for the work that they should have a calculation based on GDP and population to each state, that the state pays taxes to the federal government. So we should pay, for instance, we're in Missouri, we should pay Missouri taxes, and maybe there'll be more because we don't have federal taxes. I think that the government should have an infrastructure of a military, but I don't think they should be in charge of the military. I think that we should have infrastructure in place for when we need to unite, but I think the states should carry the military.
I love it. Sign me up.
Yeah, I think we need to get more down. That's all constitutional stuff. That's, if you look at our Constitution, that's how it's written. The states have the power, and then
Yeah, but they kind of lost that power
after the
during
Civil War.
Yeah,
Which
is the real reason they fought the Civil War.
Yeah, well,
State rights.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of it. The other thing you've got too is then more power was taken away in the early 1900s when we created the Federal Reserve System. Okay, in the early 1900s we created the Federal Reserve. We then started paying our federal taxes, and taxes went to the federal government, not states. And so
I like everything you had to say.
yeah, I think going to the states allows the states. That way, if the federal government doesn't do something right, the states have the right to go, we don't feel like we should write you a check for that much. We'll meet you in court. We'll battle that out. An individual can't fight the federal government, but a state has a much better, they can go up to the Supreme Court. They can battle those things out, and they can present their case and have a much better, clearer picture. Hey, this president has acted out of his authority. And because of that, we don't feel we're going to send, our bill is, $50 billion. We're only going to send 20. Why? Because we feel like there's been 30 billion misappropriately spent, that we're not going to support that until that's been brought back in check. It also, and this is going to be crazy. I'll tell you a couple other things I think. While we're at it, we're having a great conversation. But I think we should bring back, I think the House should be voted by population like we do. I think the Senate should be voted, our senators should be voted by the state legislator. That's how it used to be. And that actually makes more sense because then, it's hard for an individual to get the attention of a state senator. Of a federal senator. But the states have a lot, that's a lot less, so they have a larger influence if that senator knows his job's more at risk and he can't go spend billions of dollars to get a bunch of people in certain cities to like them. They've actually got to earn, the people, basically the representatives of the people. So, and the people still have their say on the House. And that's actually how our country was for a long time until they swapped it. So that was another swap that I would go back.
What were you doing?
Well,
We got bored with our success.
no, I think what they did, I think sometimes there are, I always say the unintentional consequences. You look at a lot of things that conservatives have done and they didn't think it out. A lot of times, a lot of these moves were done by the conservative party thinking good intentions, but they never thought how it would be abused or never thought it would be abused. I mean,
And man's pride cannot say I was wrong.
yeah, I think it looks back, you look at like the Patriot Act. People thought that when we passed it back in the early 2000s, hey, we really need to be able to watch out for these terrorists. We have better ways to look at them. Now, what has it done? Now we've got the FBI going after, mom and dads who are voting at school board meetings, right? Because they have the ability now to spy. We got FISA warrants being abused. Do you realize that the FBI did not even have the ability to do FISA warrants until the Patriot Act?
Oh yeah, I read extensively the Patriot Act when it came out.
That's where the FBI got the right to do FISA warrants. So, I mean, my question has always
That
been,
was the end of everything.
yeah, why don't we just pull that away? That's another one that I just go, why don't we take that away from them?
You know why? Because the federal government got its hands on it.
Yeah, the minute they get it, they don't want to give it up, do they?
They're gonna give it up.
Even though I read recently like 78 or 79% of all FISA warrants by the FBI are either denied or should have been denied. So
It's a kangaroo court.
yeah. Well, it's not. I mean, they're just trying to. It's not even a court. They're just presenting like, hey, we need to spy on Americans. This is why.
That's a kangaroo court.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, we'll just do this for show.
Well, that was quite the conversation to kick it off. Hey, we have a good conversation.
How long was that? An hour and a half?
Probably. I don't know. Let's get into a little bit of our discussion today. We'll see how we go. All right. Thanks so much for watching Triple Play and for supporting us. We hope you enjoyed the show today. Lots of great guests coming up. And don't forget to
like and subscribe now.
exactly
Do it.
now. Got to do your little thing, by the way. My wife will miss your.
What's this thing? Wait,
Yeah.
I thought I'd do that right before you do that.
Okay. So, well, hey, all that said, enjoy. We'll catch you on the next episode. We got a lot of good guests, so keep an eye on our next one. Lord willing and health willing, we'll have your dad on talking about some great Cardinal baseball and maybe a little bit of some of the other teams. We'll maybe get his thoughts of what he thinks overall, and it should be a great discussion. So.
My dad knows how to talk.
That he does.
That
He's
he
a
does.
good. He's a good announcer, a good radio guy. Before he went back to coaching, I enjoyed listening to him on the announcing at the Cardinals. So, all right, we'll catch you guys. Bye.
You're safe.